on City Council. It's a reminder of who I'm representing and what they stand for. I was asked when I ran for office if I would vote my conscience or vote the will of the people. And it has informed every single decision that I have made. When I responded to that question in a cottage meeting, I said, well, I will vote the will of the people. But immediately I was asked if I would vote for Kool-Aid in the water if the will of the people was for Kool-Aid. Well, that's kind of funny. It's a true statement. The reality is that in that moment I realized it really depends on the situation. Sometimes it is a conscience vote and sometimes it is the will of the people. And so with that, I'd like to offer a prayer. That's something that I personally is very important to me, is that when I come to council, I start with a prayer, because for me, I am a respecter of God, and I believe in him helping us to make these decisions. And I hope that's not offensive to anyone. I'm just telling you what is important to me, and that this is an important thing that we come and do every 2 weeks. So with that, our dear Father in heaven, we are so grateful for the many blessings that thou hast bestowed upon us and upon this beautiful community. We're grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. We're grateful for the opportunity to have recently celebrated the 4th of July and to have recalled to mind the freedoms that we have. Please bless us this night as we work to make decisions and as we try to do the things that will best benefit this community, that we will have thy guidance and help in those decisions, that we will know the things that will help our citizens and bless them the most. And with that, we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilwoman Hurst, for those comments and that prayer. If you'd all rise and repeat the pledge of allegiance with me. Where to go?
We got one over there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're so trained.
Now, the point we're at now is our open session. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to come forth and say what might be on their mind. If you're going to come forth, keep your comments 2 to 3 minutes. So that is now open, and I'll state where your name and where you're from. I don't see anybody in the audience, anybody online, so we will move on from that open session, and we will go to the business items. The first item is the GovStack website contract, and we got Lisa and Brandt that are going to handle that for us. Give us an introduction.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before you is the contract we discussed last week at the work session. Went into detail about the different website options. Before you is the GovStack agreement. One thing I want to make note is the amounts that were provided last meeting did not include the first year. So before you, do you have the agreement open, Jennifer? So the amount for the annual total is $6,234. The one-time design fee is $18,165. Bring the total to $24,399.50 for the first year, and then every year after that would be that $6,000 or so. But what that means is we'll have to wait a year for the chatbot and the other items, because this will eat up the budget for this year. So we'll get the design done, and then we'll have the funding for next year for the other items. So. And staff recommends approval unless you have any questions for me.
I did notice on the terms that the annual increase is the greater of 5% or inflationary index. Typically it's 3% or an inflationary index. 5 seems, did we talk about 5 in our last meeting? And I don't know if there's a negotiating room to go back and say we're comfortable with 3 or inflationary, but
yeah, I did highlight that in my review to Bryce. I don't know what the discussion was about trying to.
Did you just say the greater of 5% or inflationary index?
correct. So
But this says and inflationary index. Like at the bottom of the I guess I want to
It
clarify.
probably should say or, because you wouldn't say the greater of without using the word or. I don't, Lisa, you can opine on that, but.
And
Where
where
are you
is that
looking?
again?
It's
This is at the very
page-
bottom, right
Gosh.
where it says
It's
24,000.
page 8 of the PDF file.
Thank you.
So there's customer and license terms, yeah.
That was a good catch, Spencer.
I still think I would read it the way that you normally would read it. It's a more awkward way of saying it, but I don't know how you read it differently.
Yeah, I don't know how you do
I
it.
think it's fine, but
Yeah. My concern is 5% seems, I'm not in the industry of website management or design, so I don't know what an industry standard is there, but
Well, sure, we're seeing 5% more often, like our sanitation fees, things like that, if they're all around that 5%. Because again, our inflation was well over 5% for some time.
right, I've seen a lot of entities try and play catch-up, and yet now inflation is trending. I guess yesterday it reported an annual 2.7, so,
We're around the 2.5% for
Yeah.
the last few months.
yeah.
I mean, if that's something you'd like for us to instruct, but if it kills the deal,
Yeah, I don't bring it up to kill a deal, I bring it up as a point of note.
It's pretty hard for us to sit here in city council meeting and say that one way or another, then who we're negotiating with. We say, no,
they're
that
not
isn't.
gonna see our council meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, just, I mean, I'm happy to challenge, say, look, council feels comfortable with 3%. If they agree, that's great, and we can work on that.
okay.
3% or, are you still talking about the greater? Or,
I would,
it was an interesting clause.
typically,
is
on
why
a
I
negotiating,
highlighted.
I would say not to exceed. It's either
Right.
3% or inflation,
Right,
Not to
But-
exceed.
not to exceed.
We
questionable
agree.
market,
Yeah, I know.
We agree.
but, yeah,
But I think if you get pushback, I don't know that you have any, I don't know what the other
The
options
thing is,
provided. I still think this is the better option regardless of the
But we
2%
do,
there's no harm in asking, and if you can't get the extra 2%, it's probably still the better deal.
but we still, I think the other point is even more that there does need to be a ceiling on it.
Well, there is a greater,
There
there is a
is.
ceiling.
it's one or the other, and that's where I feel like they're protected too, because if inflation does rise dramatically, they're backed by the inflationary index. The greater, right?
Yeah.
okay. So you want us to try and get 3% or inflationary rate, whichever is greater.
Well, but can the inflationary rate be whatever? I mean, that's concerning.
Could it be
to me.
10% is what you're worried about? and we're
Well,
paying
usually
10%.
it's the, if I'm on our side and negotiating for us, I would always negotiate the lesser of the inflationary index or 3%. So you're capped at 3%.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So the way
Okay,
we,
okay.
and that's how we
And again,
negotiate
I don't
for
know if they're
sanitation.
gonna accept that,
We'll
but,
play inflationary rates up to 5%. That's usually what we have done in the past. So this is different wording.
so you could also say, okay, well, if they don't accept that, then fine, we'll do 3%, but if inflation, you can create a collar. You could say it's 3%, but if inflation's greater than 3%, we're happy to do that, but no more than 5. So you have your range bound between 3 and 5. Does that make sense, Lisa?
Even if it kills the deal, I'm not willing to give them an open check at the end of this.
No, and this isn't an open check.
He's saying between 3 and 5.
This is a time sensitive.
I like the way
The
you're
collar.
saying that, Spencer.
But is that what it's, but that's not what it says right now when you read.
Somewhat time sensitive. We've got it in the
No,
contract.
right now, it
We just
doesn't
take
leave you
it
an
on,
open check.
negotiate and still sign it.
It's just saying the greater of 5% or inflation. So if inflation was
But
5
if but inflation was 10, it's saying it could be 10.
that's correct, but that's not an open checkbook. That's
Well,
what I
no,
guess
but
what I'm
I
saying.
don't want to be able to, I want a more firm number than that.
Correct, and that's why I'm suggesting what I'm suggesting. Lead out with the lesser of inflation or 3%. If they don't take that, say, okay, would you be willing to do a collar between 3 and 5?
I think they're gonna say
And
no.
I mean,
And they probably say, yeah.
and I would
exactly.
just say, so 1% is what, $62? So the difference is $62 a year.
Yeah.
I just want the, not
Thank you.
If
Just put some perspective on it, we're not
Yeah,
talking.
I know.
Well, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, so,
If it goes to 10%, we have like bigger problems than this particular contract.
Yeah,
so,
I
I mean,
agree.
so the 2% you're talking about is $62.
That's why I'm
120.
not too bent out of shape. If you
124.
can't get it, you can't get it.
So we'll do it back, we'll get it at 3%.
Well, there's lots of options, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we could even say, hey, how about a hard 5%?
Right.
without the
Yeah, you could say that too.
I'd feel better about that.
Okay. Great. Any questions?
So is there a motion?
I'm gonna let you make it since you're the one who's like
Oh, now I'm worried.
difficult.
Being I'm just looking out for the city's interest. Let me just get to our,
Did you like the way I just passed that by?
yeah, no, it's okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement with GovStack for website services and authorize staff to try and negotiate the annual escalator.
If you could add, authorize the administrative services director to sign.
And authorize the administrative services director to sign the contract.
I'll second.
All right, Councilman,
Aye.
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 don't know if
His
your
name is
discussion is there, but it's,
He's on mute.
so,
Abstains.
motion passes. All right, let's go to, item number 2. This is personnel policies, amendment. This is Lisa, and it looks like maybe Isabel's helping her out with this, so.
Yes,
Lisa?
thank you, Mayor and Council. We're proposing a new section in our personnel policies regarding breastfeeding in the workplace. And we have attached a confidential memorandum from Isabel Sebra, our legal intern, just trying to help explain the requirements, mainly of state law. This is covered in the Federal Pump Act as well, but we were just trying to keep this project small, and mainly addressing the state law, which does require a couple things. And I will say that Bryce King, our Administrative Services Director, brought this matter to my attention, and I think it's a good addition that we need to bring our code into compliance with the state law. But essentially, we're required by state law to provide reasonable breaks for an employee that is breastfeeding, and that is for 1 year following the birth of the child. But it leaves it flexible to say so in here, we just say the Human Resources Director can work with the employee and ask them, what kind of breaks do they need? And we also have to provide what they call a lactation space. So this is a private area for the employee to breastfeed or express milk. And then they have you can't just tell them to go into the bathroom and do it. So we have to have an actual space. The space can move around. It doesn't have to be dedicated. So again, we're keeping it flexible and saying that the Human Resources Director can work with the employee and find a place that's close to their workspace as well. And so we just put these as well to make sure that it's private. And finally, we need to provide a refrigerator for the breast milk, a clean and well-maintained refrigerator. So somebody's going to have to work on that for the temporary storage.
Don't bring us into in-office disgruntlement.
And if the employee doesn't have an office, then we need to provide an insulated cooler or something for that. So I think if you have any questions, but again, we're just trying to bring this into compliance with state law. We understand that there's additional pregnancy-related policies that we need to add, and also some other federal regulations that we reference in here, particularly the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, as well as we need to provide some language talking about reasonable accommodations. And so we will be coming back with those, but wanted to sort of divide this off into a policy that we could get before you as soon as possible.
One thing I just thought about, Lisa, Human Resources Director, we don't have that title, so we put or designee or Personnel Director.
I think well, I can check. I thought that it was the term we use, oh, not director, sorry, what are we saying here?
It says the
Human
proposed
resources-
policy authorizes the human resources director as a defined term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check Bryce's, job description and make sure.
So I'm the personnel director
Yes, and-
officially, and I've designated some of these duties to
Okay,
Bryce and Bethany, right?
yeah.
We don't have to change the language, you would have to just update your job title, whoever that is in
Yeah,
the
or specialist, we
administration,
might
right?
call it
Would
specialist.
be human resources specialist, would be the way to go, better way.
Okay.
And that's
Say specialist.
Bethany.
Okay.
So do we need to change the word in that, in your language? Well, I guess, does
Yes.
it matter in the memo?
Yeah, I think we should change it in the policy, but I will double check the job descriptions and see if we use any other language, but that's a good catch. Human resources specialist, I think we
I
use
should
it.
have shared it earlier.
While you're working on that, Brent, what locations have we identified in this building? And do we have to identify also a
Like in
location in our
Public
Public
Works?
Works building?
Yes,
I would
and
imagine
parks.
so.
Police department.
So above the Sally port over here won't work, it's hot and
Right.
gross. So we have looked at a few different areas, including the mayor's office, no, not really. Where did I?
I mean, you don't have to say
We've talked
exactly
about
where
it.
it's at, I just,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can move.
So we've talked about various locations.
Okay.
I can't remember what we've settled on. I don't know if you and Bryce have spoken about it. But ultimately,
There is a room in the E EEOC.
Mayor, I told you the other day, what was it?
You talked about behind here, right?
Oh, yeah, we talked about behind here,
Yeah,
actually making a nice space because this is sort of, thanks, Mayor.
yeah, you betcha. I remembered something.
So we have talked about, we've got this storage of this, and you section it off that we actually make it a nice nursing room in here in City Hall, so.
okay.
Public Works, I don't know where we could do it down there just
Yeah.
yet, which hopefully would serve Public Works and Parks. with the
Correct,
Facility
yeah.
down there.
Okay.
So we're just recommending approval of resolution 2025-12.
Lisa,
noted.
just recognizing that we can certainly pass this policy, but when we update it, I mean, this is also going to be accommodations required by, as you pointed out, other laws, including the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. And I hate not referencing that statute in a breastfeeding accommodations policy. So,
Okay.
like, I would love, I mean, I'm fine getting this in place now. I'd rather have something than nothing. But I would like, when we look at updating
amend it.
those other pieces, that we are,
We can
maybe-
also, so you actually want the reasonable accommodation, or at least reference
I
that?
want to reference it, because
Okay.
that is a fairly new federal regulation, and its accommodation requirements are fairly extensive.
Yeah.
And it does include accommodations for breaks or lactation, and it can involve other issues related to lactation as well.
Yes, okay. I did mention it in the staff report, but not in this policy. So if you would like me to add it at the, because we say, for purposes of, following the Utah Breastfeeding Act and the providing urgent maternal protection, the Pump Act, and then I could just say and then add reference to that, if you want in section A, or do you want more substantive provisions that we can bring back?
Well, I mean, again, we're going to have some other things that we need to do. So I was thinking of, and we'll provide any other related accommodation as required by, federal and state
Oh,
law.
I see.
I would like to read it, I'd like to review it and all that before we do officially put it in here, but we can put it in
Okay.
here, right? I think it's a good idea, but I'm not familiar with it.
We're already obligated to do this, so.
Yes, I just want to know how it impacts other potential things that we're doing that we might need to change in other
Yeah.
areas of our personnel policy.
Like, no, that pregnancy fairness, the PWFA, which can they not have come up with a better acronym? I mean, they came up with Pump Act, they couldn't come up with something better. Sorry, that's a personal pet peeve, but just the amount of accommodations that you have to provide for pregnancy, childbearing, and post-childbearing accommodations they are very extensive, so I just want to make sure we're.
I'll review it as well. Okay.
The other thing that I would like to put in this, it doesn't say whether breaks are paid or unpaid. And I would recommend that we include, breaks will be paid as required by law. There are requirements that you have to pay, like if you are a non-exempt employee and you're not completely relieved from duty during the entirety of your break, I have to be paid for that, right? So if I'm pumping and working, I'm still being paid for that.
Okay, I did try to address that in E.
That
That the city is not required to compensate an employee after receiving reasonable break time under this policy, provided any break time shall be considered hours
so you
worked,
did get that.
but not, But,
But for exempt employees, it would be considered paid. We can't make an unpaid break for an exempt employee, so they're gonna be paid. And if we provide paid breaks for other purposes, we have to allow people to take their paid break to express, right? I mean, there are just some fine tuning here.
Smoke breaks don't happen as much as they used to.
yeah, and we did just say, to the extent possible, it should run concurrently with those.
So I think, like, rather than, I mean, we can put in those details, or we could just say that, you know, breaks will be paid as required by law, and then we're covered, like, if the law requires it, we pay you, and if the law doesn't require it, we don't pay you.
Okay.
Oh, good clarification, I like it, thank you.
So,
But it does imply, I'd like to leave here that they're generally not paid, but they will be paid.
Subject to,
Required by
subject to
law.
law.
Except that's generally not paid except as required by law.
Okay, great.
Including but not limited to if the employee is not completely relieved. Because I think that's fair. Like, I want people to know, like, if you are working, you will be paid. So,
I think Councilmember Hayman's making this motion, what do you think, Councilmember?
Absolutely, I'm like, I'm not gonna try and make a motion here.
I think you're right.
do you already
about this
have
right there.
breaks for, like, for a full-time employee? I know when I was at the state, they were like, oh, you can have 2 15-minute breaks or something. Is that going on here, or? I'm gonna be honest, I appreciate that we're putting this into place, and obviously there's been problems where we wouldn't have these federal and state laws. So I just want to say, I know our staff would be accommodating of these situations, and, you know, to me, this is like work-life balance. Like, it's hard to leave your child at home, and, you know, so you should be able to have accommodations to make sure that you can take care of them while you're at work.
Speaking on behalf of administrative staff, I don't even think we take breaks other than lunches.
I was gonna just say,
Honestly,
isn't break just lunch?
right, so I think there's generally, there might be eating at their desk, but they're still kind of working because they're,
The
and
only
I don't know
thing,
how streets and
lunch.
public works does it, but honestly, I don't think we really deal with breaks. I think we just take lunches.
if you need a break, you go take one, right? Like,
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have, if it's abused, then we have a
I was
conversation
gonna say, I
about it.
guess that's my consideration, is just that the language is appropriate, that if you do have a potential where you're going, gosh, this feels like it's a little abused, like, I'm taking my break to run over and get a soda, and then I'm gonna also take a break to pump, and then I'm also gonna take a break because I'm entitled to, I guess,
Gina, welcome to my world.
yes, I know, so you know what I'm saying, I'm just saying, like, if there's a potential for abuse, I guess make the language appropriate, but.
The larger the organization, the more problems you have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
What did
don't
we
know.
say that the name of the human resource?
but I do think this is
Specialist.
important,
Human
so
resource
I'm not in
specialist.
any way saying this shouldn't be dealt with.
I would just say change that as a defined term.
Leave yourself an option if you ever.
In that paragraph preceding.
I just talked about
If I have to
potential
make this
abuse
motion, I'm
Yeah.
the other day,
Isn't that the-
and
I
the
was-
department head is handling it, so.
Yeah.
And just for the record, and I'm not advocating that you put this in, but Utah law has a special carve-out, and it's a Utah-specific carve-out that differs from federal law, that says it's not a reasonable accommodation to allow you to bring your child to work so that they can breastfeed at work. That is a unique Utah carve-out.
Wait, say that again, so what does that mean?
So yes or no, they can do that?
Yeah,
Utah has said no. So Utah actually.
That's in the other proposed
That's-
oh,
policy.
Utah said you cannot bring your
Unreasonable
child
accommodation.
to,
So before the PWFA was put into place,
This is-
Utah had enacted
You can lactate,
a
but you can't bring your
breastfeeding
child
requirement that I
there.
had to provide certain accommodations to pregnant and breastfeeding women, but we made a special carve-out under Utah law that said that that doesn't require that employers allow people to bring their children to work so that.
why did we have, I'm sorry, leave that for another day.
That's just a fun fact. I'm not advocating to put it in. I just thought that was interesting.
Well,
that
it's
that was a
actually in the
Utah
draft of the next policy we're gonna bring.
carve-out. I clearly didn't-
Except, we're gonna be more Centerville carve out on top of the Utah carve out.
Although I don't know that that's
That's
necessarily potentially true under the PWFA, right?
Yeah.
Like in federal would trump state. It's an evolving area and it's interesting.
But if,
We'll send the next one to you for
I was
review
gonna say.
prior to.
Sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. This is like my world,
Yeah, we
so
can say
you
you-
get all my thoughts.
Do we have a motion on this?
I'm glad that we have somebody who can help address these
I
things.
say, I bet Shaylin's gonna be able to make a great motion.
I'm glad that I have this one narrow area of expertise where I can lend my services. I move that let me go bow. I guess I can't do that. I move that we approve resolution number 2025-12 enacting section 7.052 of the Centerville Personnel Policies regarding breastfeeding in the workplace with the following changes. One, change references to human resources director to human resources specialist. And in section E, change the last sentence to read, the city is not required to compensate an employee receiving reasonable break time under this policy for any time spent during the workday for such purposes except as otherwise required by law, including without limitation if non-exempt employees are not completely relieved from duty during the entirety of the break.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion? All right, Councilman Summerhays, you want to vote going to the right?
Aye.
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 All right, that passes, 4-0, thank you. All right, let's go to summary action calendar. Now, I know the first one is a Parks Department purchase, and the second one is Public Works vehicle purchases. I know that Dave is well prepared, or was it going to be you, Dave? Or Mike, but Dave told me last night that he had some paperwork to, so if we kept him up even later than he was up, we want to give him a chance to talk about these. And I would think you'd have questions because there's quite a few vehicles there as well too. So let's have Dave come up and just talk to you about the Public Works vehicle purchase.
While Dave comes up, Lisa, remind me, on summary action, can we combine both items 1 and 2 so long as we stipulate the amount?
Yes, I'm still not convinced you have to mention the amount.
Okay.
But
I'm not convinced either.
Summary action, you can
Good,
just say.
Summary action, we
the
approve summary action
calendar.
That we
calendar as
approve what we've
recommended.
already approved before, is what you're saying? Okay. Thanks.
But you do you. We'll go with it.
So I don't really have much to bring. I just came ready for any questions may have, since we did have quite a list of them.
Are these all within budget? I noticed in the report that we talked about that the 1,500 crew cab, LT, both of those were a little bit under budget. I don't remember on the others, but it seemed like when I looked for the CV and the MV, that I didn't see if those, are we within budget for the year?
So all of them are, but I believe it's the CV.
The CV.
It comes in a little bit above when we.
For the
went
cabin chassis and the dump bed, or?
Combined.
Okay, combined.
Yeah, the combined total comes in a little bit above, if I recall correctly, by a little bit than the other one, the bobtail. And I might have those mixed up. I don't have those specific numbers. But we do come in just a little bit over budget. When we submitted back in January, we went to the vendors. They gave pricing. We added 10%, and we still came up where we are right now. So unfortunately, our hands are tied a little bit, but we do want to hopefully still be able to get that equipment on order and get it coming.
Are we, I know in the case of some of these trucks, we're going to also sell,
Correct.
they're going to be sold and we'll get some
Correct.
funding that'll come back.
So-
How about the CV and CV 515, MV 607? It seems like I could see on the CAT that one was, I could see the pricing there for the trade-in.
Correct. So the excavator has a trade-in, but we just have to reflect it as the price for the purchase.
Okay.
The trade-in is going to be $66,000. A little side note, when we bought it a couple of years, we only paid $72,000, so that's a pretty decent trade-in return on that piece of equipment. Yes, the only vehicle that does not have a sale affixed to it is the 1,500 crew cab WT that's for the drainage department, and that's to facilitate our new member Drew. So it doesn't have one to
Oh, yeah,
sell off.
sorry.
But
Right.
all of the others, the other 1,500 crew cabs, they both will have a trade-in, or they'll be sold at auction. We've had what we feel is really good success there. Our original intent, I kind of remind, is we were hoping to at least get a 50% return, because we used to buy vehicles, keep them for 8-10 years, sell them for pennies on the dollar, and we buy one every year. He says, well, if we go to this, if we get a 50% return, it's like a twofer every year, right? And we could keep our fleet a lot nicer, a lot more desirable for those purchases. And so far, we're exceeding over 65% return on these vehicles that we've been turning around on the 4-year plan.
Okay.
Dave, your staff notes that the trucks are immediately available. Are the CV and the MV and the X also immediately available? Or these are just on order and we get in line and they arrive whenever?
That's correct. So the first four, the 3 different 1500s and the 3500 are ready for delivery, either sitting there already, or there's 2 that we haven't heard if they've made it or within a week or so.
Yeah.
The other 2, the CV and the MV, the bobtail, will have, the cabin chassis will be here around October.
So they have given us a delivery timeline at least?
Correct,
Okay.
and then the CV, the dump bed and plow equipment is about December to January, and then the bobtail is April to May. It's about 8 months lead time on those,
Okay.
So hopefully we get plow equipment.
in time to use them next
Yeah,
year.
I was gonna say.
And that's really the standard. We have found a new not a new company, we've just discovered a company that's been around and we've never really paid much mind to them, that builds a lot of their own body stuff right here in Salt Lake. And they have a lot quicker turnaround times, and so we're gonna see a little bit better success, we feel, with that. A lot of them, until you have the cabin chassis sitting there, they won't even order the body equipment, whereas these other companies they're willing to start their body orders ahead so it can hopefully get there at the same time.
Other questions for Dave on those purchases? Any questions about the lawnmower purchase? Brent said he'd handle that if you had any questions on that.
Brent, my question is, it looks like it's great because the replacement cost is over 90 grand and we're getting it for 66?
Yes. Got for Bruce. Yeah, it's great.
I'm happy to make a motion there.
You betcha.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of a new lawnmower from Mountain Land Power Equipment for the Parks Department. And I'm not gonna state amounts because my legal counsel said it's not necessary. And I'm also going to make a motion that we approve the purchase of the following vehicles and equipment for the Public Works Department. 2 2025 Silverado 1500 Crew Cab LTs, a 2025 Silverado Crew Cab 1500 WT, a 2025 Silverado 3500 HD Crew Cab WT, a CV 515 cabin chassis, a CV 515 dump bed and plow equipment, MV 607 cabin chassis, MV 607 dump bed and plow equipment, and a CAT 306 excavator.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion? Okay, Councilwoman Hayman, you want to vote? Go into the right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry. I was already, in my brain, I was already moving on to the next agenda item.
I think it's important to note that Councilwoman Hurst also noted or asked that those were all within budget, so that's there for the record. All right, let's
Thanks,
go.
Mayor. That's probably a good qualifier too, just for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So minutes, so we got the July 1st work session, July 1st closed session, July 1st city council minutes. Any questions on those?
I had a question for Jennifer. On the city council meetings, in the section talking about the body art facilities, we don't list the council tabled that item. Was that an intentional omission? Just if I were the member of the public and I were reading this, it doesn't look like we did anything.
Oh, that was not intentional.
So I would.
That was a mistake on my part.
Got it. I would add that back in, just so that it's clear that.
Yeah,
the
I don't know
city
how I
council
missed
tabled
that.
that matter.
Thank you for
Yep.
pointing that out.
Yeah, I think you tabled and directed staff.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember writing that. Maybe I accidentally cut and paste instead of copy and paste. I've done that before. You can still approve it with that addition if you want, unless you want to wait and I can bring them back next time.
I don't need to see the language. I just wanted to point that out, just so
Yeah,
that we can
no, thank you.
add that in.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes with the amendment proposed by Councilmember Hayman, that the city council minutes reflect that the body art and tattoos discussion was tabled.
I'll second that. And for the record, Jennifer, your batting average on these are really good.
Yes.
So
They are.
don't take that as a criticism.
No, thank you. No, I really appreciate when you guys do find my mistakes and point them out, so I can fix them.
You
All
get
right.
mad at me? I'm just kidding.
I'll always get mad at Brant, but I won't get mad at you guys.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Tonight's council report is from Councilmember Summerhays.
Okay, on the South Davis Rec District, last night we met and we approved a notice to the county of intent to increase the subsidy levy by 5%. That is a once every other year, kind of, not a fixed policy, but a recommendation that we've kind of taken on in the past 3 years, just to keep up with inflation. I mean, we're seeing our insurance costs go up by 20%, our natural gas costs going up, our chlorine, everything else. So this is part of a broader look at just trying to keep up with inflationary pressures on all of the, both hard costs as well as the soft costs, to say nothing of personnel costs. So we're working through that. We're also working through drafting and getting to an agreement with the school district on a new interlocal, which will define a calculation methodology on school swim team costs as it relates to operations, and also getting in writing, in the event we do go to a bond to expand the pool facilities, that their contribution would be stated there, so that we have an agreed upon amount in writing as part of that interlocal. So that leads to the third topic of discussion, which would be a potential bond out into the future. We want to be really thoughtful and patient in crafting what we think will be our scope of work, depending on whether or not the school district commits to that contribution amount and what we can do. All-in project costs are looking like about 20 million-ish if we renovated locker rooms, relocated the vestibule entry area, which would be important because we have people kind of trying to sneak in and out that northwest side door. It would be for a pool expansion, it would be for an outdoor 6-lane lap pool, but kind of more like a summer fun teenage area. And it would essentially replace the bond the bond levy that is in place now that rolls off in January of 2026. So trying to trade like kind for like kind, working through that process. So a lot going on at the rec district there. Any questions on that before?
So I have a question. Are we just tied to the rec center forever? I mean, can they just raise whatever they want and our citizens are, I mean, is it ever a point that the citizens can say, that's too high, we don't want to be part of it anymore? I know that's a scary thought, but as I hear you say, well, we're going to raise this, and I'm thinking, you know, is there ever a point where,
It's a truth and taxation hearing, so all members of the public, if they,
right, but you still have the final decision. I'm just saying if it ever gets to the point that our citizens say it's more than what they're willing to pay.
you're talking about either leaving or dissolving the district as it stands. I wouldn't be able to answer
So
that
if
question.
a city leaves, so let's say it's a 25-year bond, and at year 5, we say we're out, more than like, we are still responsible for the rest of that bond, whether or not we are part of the district. So we could leave, but we have debt service that we'll still have to pay for. So,
I'm not saying that I want to, I just
no,
was
so
interesting
we're-
is.
we're tied to that
And
now.
I've had people question me, there are some people that absolutely love the rec center, and there are other people that don't. There are people that, when they have kids do, and then when they don't particularly want to help pay for it, and so I just get a lot of questions for it, and I don't really know the answer, and I know that if the levies are gonna go up, we're gonna get more questions of people saying, hey, how high can they go? Do we have to keep paying for it? What do we have to do?
Yeah, so levies are different, so levy, if the levy is tied to the bond, it just depends, but you can negotiate your leaving, whether it's the full debt service or what that amount is, but it's all negotiable, but ultimately you're tied to the debt service. Nate might have more thoughts on it, but that's
That's
essentially
okay,
the
I just
high-level
was
approach
curious
to it.
when they brought
Yeah, I don't know what the legal mechanism would be if a municipality said, hey, thanks, we're out, we're done. I-
Imagine it depends on the contract and everything else, obviously.
It would be your interlocal amongst the
Yeah.
5 cities.
Yeah.
There are other cities.
I mean, you could
Heads
say that
up.
to the fire district, to the mosquito abatement, I mean, I guess, hey, we want to leave the waste management district, or,
Well, that's what Layton just
What
did
we've
with the
been going
farming,
through,
with the,
yeah.
The West City, this 5 cities actually met with a few other cities who are interested in looking at a district. Again, they just find that there's a lot of value to the district and trying to figure out how our relationship works, and shared with them our lessons learned and how you can make it better. So there's this desire to move to districts across the state, to be honest, because rec is hard.
So
It's probably by far one of the
Brand-
hardest to manage.
Brant is talking about, the fourth thing that I was going to mention is that there is discussion amongst other cities in the Davis County area to create potential Central Davis rec district and a North Davis rec district. And that's
That's who we met
part,
with.
and that's part of the discussion we're having with the school district, because instead of spending $60 million on a pool facility that's going to benefit a very small number of athletes, I think the new board composition is now saying, well, we'd rather just contribute a lower amount, have somebody else manage a facility. We don't want to be in the business of managing a.
To see a strong no from me
aquatics.
for pool or a golf course, just saying. Those are awful. They're really expensive and don't generate a lot, so, but they are.
So that's a rec district update. On Trails Committee, they have purchased some equipment and they look forward to doing a trail day next week. I think, I can't remember which trail it is that they'll be working on. We have a meeting again this week. There is some opportunities through the outdoor recreation. I copied Brandt and Mayor on a message where there's some potential grant funding. Councilmember Kate Bradshaw is on the selection committee as well as a member of the North Salt Lake City Council, and they feel that if we can craft a good proposal on some items, we might be able to get some grant funding for either maybe a pump track within our city, or just, where kids are on their kind of scoop bikes, as well as others that want to develop some skills, or some trail improvements as we work through the gun range and relocating trails or whatever else we might choose to do. So we're looking at that.
Great. Any, a good report, any questions? Anybody else have any pressing that we need to know about for our next meeting from your committees, boards? Thank you. All right, mayor report. Okay, just under 2 weeks ago, as you all know, we opened the pickleball courts. Had a nice little session there. That's what I can mainly report on because of the 4th of July. I missed some other activities, but it was a nice night. It was successful. I was worn out by the end of the evening. I had a different partner every time I played, so that was fun. And it was fun to see some of you playing as well, too. The only thing I've noticed is that they're busy in the morning, nobody in the middle of the day, which you get in the middle of July, and then busy in the evening again, however, later in the evening, because you got that west sun pounding, and it's still hot. So just a consideration, I've had many people come to me, why don't we go to 11 on those lights? And I started thinking, maybe for the pickleball courts, you can make an exception with your park. There's nothing to the east, nothing to the west, nothing to the north, nothing to the south, because it's pretty dang hot there. So anyway, I'm not, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying for all our parks, but I'm saying that one little area, because in you're only using lights for 15 minutes to a half hour, you know, in June and July, so. Anyway, they've been a hit, so, and that was a nice night. Obviously, y'all participated in 4th activities. Those were wonderful. We had, obviously, some problems that our police had to deal with, but other than that, it went well. But we'll have some meeting for on that after the fact to go over. And then I spoke at Rotary last week. Had a nice. They gave me 30 minutes. It ended up being 45 because they had tons of questions. And it was really nice. And so I suggested also that that was my campaigning, that they bring in the city council candidates for a little Rotary meeting too, because they had some really good questions. We had really good discussion. It's enjoyable to do those, to see everything that's, you know, that's going on in the city as you review back. And then my last thing is, before I make comments on this, I was wondering if Dave Walker or Mike Carlson wanted to comment on how amazing our Public Works Department was yesterday afternoon and evening and into the early morning. So, Dave, you want to talk about that a bit?
They're pretty amazing.
They're awesome.
They're
Very wonderful.
It really, considering the circumstances, is a very challenging area. This is one of our more difficult areas to get shut down, just due to older infrastructure, valves that don't shut all the way, things like that, that made it a little difficult. It expanded the area that we had to have people shut down, so it took a little while. But all in all, when we got down to it, making the repairs, I mean, we kind of talked about the fact that a lot of our guys are 3 years or less here, some barely starting their 2nd year, and still to perform at the level they did under the type of pressure that they had at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And then and the mayor was there for quite some time, and to even still see the spirits of the guys and the way they were behaving and interacting with each other. And even when we left at 4 o'clock in the morning, it was still jokes and high spirits. And so it really is a really remarkable group that we're fortunate to be a part of. So I don't know if you want me to talk more, if you guys have questions about what kind of took place. I'd be happy to do some of this, not to hijack your time.
This is part of my mayor's report, so.
Part of my report, Mayor, you're still mine.
So I'm only going to do it once tonight, so you guys need to listen up. So
Mike, or Dave, Brad and I are just leaving. You got the mayor's and the city manager.
go ahead and wrap
Let's
up.
go, Brad.
I can get a motion to adjourn right after. So, no, it was really an interesting thing. I had a couple stats because I know some people really enjoy stats. I too am quite a fan of numbers. So it seems quite remarkable. This leak we lost above what our normal usage was. We lost about 1.8 million gallons of water in the time that we were trying to get the shutdowns all in place. For perspective, our new reservoir that we're having built is 1 million gallons, so this would have filled it twice. It left quick. We lost just about everything in 2 of our reservoirs. No other homes outside of the shutdown area were impacted with a lack of water. We didn't go dry to the point that people higher up on the hill or anything. So we felt really good about that. It was, as good as we could feel about that kind of situation. Another perspective, though the damage was a lot less here, the Chase Lane one, which we all know and love, we lost about 500,000 gallons is all, and it was able to devastate that much. Of course, due to the terrain, it was able to be shut down a lot quicker. And then just the type of leak. I've shared some photos with some of you guys. So what happened in this one is we had a 10-inch pipe, so pretty decent size pressurized pipe. There wasn't anything left of it. It literally exploded. About a 6-foot piece. Brant was out there as we're working on shutdowns and stuff, and you would see the asphalt heave and water would come up and a piece of white pipe would float out. And it was really quite amazing. The picture that I've showed some, it had a piece that it was disconnected at one end and the whole bottom of it was about 3-4 inches wide. Nothing else left of the pipe. So why does this happen? No clue. There's many reasons it could. It could be that the fluctuation in temperatures, the hot to cold that heaves the ground, we see that sometimes. Typically more in like beam breaks where they're a little more controlled, but that could be the case. An underlying defect that's been in there for 40 years just presented that day, lucky us.
So it's a 40-year-old pipe? That was one of my questions.
Correct, yeah.
Quality of pipe was discussed, and
The quality, 40 years ago it was good, but a lot of evolution's taken place. C900's rated a little bit better that we use now. And then also, just the age, getting near the end of life, like I say, 40 plus years. This is one of the big ones that we would like to see, a very shorter term change out. There's a lot of these that are very impactful. PVC is very damaging when it breaks. So a couple of the other type of materials of pipes, they'll do what's called a beam break. So it'll kind of break right around the circumference of the pipe. It'll spray out, it's really obnoxious to fix, but really not that damaging to the infrastructure around you. But PVC has a tendency to split. And when you're talking about a 20-foot long piece of pipe, it's not uncommon to split 20 feet long. And that's a significant amount of water when you're under the pressures that we're often running these pipes. So, costs are very popular. Love this. So we reached out to one of our asphalt contractors to try to get this done quick. Being on Main Street, State Road, they're eager to have us get it done. They're eager for us to get it opened up. It did come in about where I thought. It's not a popular number, but it is right around $77,000, $78,000. We have pipe restoration of a storm drain pipe that the bottom was blown out by the force of the pipe that burst. And then we have a lot of asphalt. The entire intersection needs new asphalt, remove and replace. There will be regrading of the intersection. Manhole collars, there's a manhole that needs additional attention. So that's where the good news, in a way.
It's included in the 78, all of that?
Correct, yeah, the full reconstruction and get it done. They are a state contractor, so it does fall within how we do our procurement, of course, under the emergency portion. And their availability is what is really popular. It's post-construction, they've done this for us. You guys will probably remember seeing them. And their availability is to likely be within the next day or two, they'll be here. So we'll probably end up moving forward with that, hopefully with you guys' blessing behind that. So we'll move forward with that. But do you guys have any questions, concerns?
Dave, I know that we talk a lot about delayed maintenance, right? Like, the more that we push back and delay maintenance, the more opportunity that there are for these types of events to occur that then cost us a lot more than being proactive about maintenance would be. Are you saying this isn't one where we had earmarked it and we had said, we need to fix this pipe, and then we had pushed the maintenance on it?
This hasn't been pushed for replacement, but our replacement schedules are extending.
They're
So we
slipping.
aren't achieving as many replacement projects as we have in the past. The costs of them, yes, are going up quite a bit, and that's unfortunate. So it hasn't lost its place in line. The line just is taking longer to.
And Main Street's been, after they redid Main Street 5 or 6 years ago, it just seems like we didn't replace some pipe during that time where we had a chance, and that's honestly the time where we should have found the funding to replace the pipe on Main Street when UDOT redid Main Street. But all that equipment, jostling, this is my theory, not necessarily theirs, but it just caused problems and probably trudged our pipes, and I jokingly blamed UDOT last night. He didn't appreciate that. He was kidding. It was fun. It was all fun and
He doesn't appreciate anything.
games. It was fun.
I have definitely heard about this pipe from Chase to the end of Main, and that, I don't think this is anything that is at all on staff in any way whatsoever. But it does bring up, to Shaylin's point, it is important that we continue to watch these fees and make sure that we are saving, because we are the body that kind of makes that happen or not happen. And so we can't always predict or determine what is going to fail if it doesn't get replaced when UDOT replaced their road. But I guess I'm just saying, hey, I don't think this is anything that staff missed or didn't do, but if also the water rates maybe at the time just weren't where they needed to be too, to say, hey, we do have enough money to, I mean, it would have been an extensive and very expensive project. So that said, and I talked to Mike today a little bit for just a second, and I didn't bug you because I knew you were really busy, but
You can always call.
Mike did say, maybe we can find some grant money to replace the pipe. I don't know how likely that is. Sometimes these replacement projects are not as
Sexy.
they're hard to get funding for. So but I do think we need to really be assertively planning how we're going to replace this line, because there's also another little chunk between First South and Fourth South that's a little bit older.
Yes. First north. First north and fourth south.
Sorry.
A little bit further, yeah.
This is the pipe
Couple
and the
more
storm
blocks.
drain, if you wanted to. I took this morning when I drove by.
Dave, can I clarify? I didn't mean for my comments to be
Oh,
seen
no,
as
no, you're
criticism
great.
towards staff at all. If anything, it was criticism of city council, right? Like, are we doing our job to stay on top of
Yeah,
providing
you and
the-
G are saying the same.
I
thing.
don't
As a
think Shayla-
legislative body, we're the ones that
Right, like-
approve expenditures. And
This
if we
is
haven't
like-
given staff the
Right.
tools to do that
that
work,
was,
it's on
that was
us.
my point.
Yeah, we don't feel that way.
Yeah, no, it was taken appropriately. We appreciate what is done. We recognize that there's restrictions on what you guys are willing and able to do. I get it. So we're willing to do as best we can with what we got. We're happy to do so. But this is one that does begin to, we've seen a few failures in my time here, and they're always quite costly. Again, just to the nature of the pipe, the way it splits. The same intersection had one on the south side of the intersection in October, which wasn't quite as expensive just because it was a tiny piece that broke just right, and so it was only 25,000. But it is something that we're seeing on this, is it's all in that same age range. So similar to the bonnet bolts that we have been doing, if you remember, that was the Oak Ridge Drive problem. We identified those, we know which valves are doing this, so we're proactively getting ahead of those, replacing them, so we hopefully prevent this. It's a little thing that we can do to hopefully avoid some of this damage, but we do have these pipe in this age range and type we're seeing problems with.
Just real quick, just to add a couple comments. So there are things that we're doing right. When we put in new water lines, we have an engineer that inspects them. We have people that watch how it's put in. To Dave's point on Main Street, back in the day when serpentine pipe was put in, they said you didn't have to bed it. So bedding means you put sand in it, so when things move, it has a safe place to go. With serpentine pipe, they said they didn't need to be bedded, so they would just dig the dirt, and whatever rock was there, they said it would never cause a problem, which was not true. But, we are doing a lot of things right. I would like to just take a second, because I didn't come out. I allowed my staff to move forward with this project, but my hats are off to my staff. They were awesome. Dave did a great job, Mark did a great job, every one of them was out there and did a great job. I heard back from several of you guys, but, they did great, and that made me feel really good. Dave was all on top of it and getting the water back on, building things up, so, they did a great job, and I'm very appreciative of them, and to me, it helps show that they are making steps for the next progression that could happen. But I just appreciate them, appreciate Dave and everything that they did. But yeah, I think we are doing things right. I think where we have engineers that inspect and we watch over our new installation, I think gives us a longer term benefit from what we're installing in the ground, so, anyway, didn't mean to take away from your thunder.
I'm wondering if it might be helpful the next time that we talk about budgeting for maintenance, if we were to put together something, like if we do a 10-year look back, right? How many emergency projects have we had pop up where, and how much did it cost us? Because sometimes seeing that, I mean, I know that we're always reluctant and we try to be very careful with money, but there's being careful and then there's being
Kick the can?
kick the can. So I want to make sure we're striking the right balance, and I think for us to be able to see how much it's costing the city cumulatively, when we have, line break after line break after line break, that will help us be able to explain to residents if we do decide that we need to devote more money to being proactive about maintenance, like here's why. So anyway, just a thought, Dave.
And we do keep some of those tallies, and I have some of them tucked away. I could compile them over at least the past couple years that I've been doing the financial side for.
I think it would be helpful to, in this case, maybe not just maybe a, pencil to a napkin type of analysis of how much, for this size of pipeline, costs per linear foot to replace from Chase to the end of.
So this one
Does it
actually,
go all the way to the north end of
that
Centerville?
makes it just shy of that last church on the north end of town.
Okay.
Gina, what you're kind of getting at is
What is the
Or
cost
think-
to replace this line that is
correct. Because
pretty old
If we're looking
and,
towards the future,
yes.
like, and we really want to be proactive,
I mean,
We've had
and
two
I guess I'd
breaks.
like staff's opinion on, does this move this up as far as capital facility improvements in your mind? You don't need to answer that
Yeah.
right this
You're asking
second.
them a lot of questions. Let them-
Yeah,
you're
I'm just
great.
saying,
And they're-
I had the same question, Gina, is like, all of a sudden, does this say, oh,
You
this
don't need
moved
to
from
answer it
this
tonight.
point to
And I'm
this
happy
point?
to give kind of a vague answer to it. When we do have these things, we do start to prioritize them. So an example is, a couple years ago, you might recall the job on 1250 North that was just up on the, just east side of town there. We started to see this progression where the leaks that were happening, and it was that type with the beam breaks that I mentioned. So we pull up a map, we say, well, here's all our repair clamps. Why do we have 14 repair clamps in a 300-foot range? The whole thing's almost stainless steel at this point, right? Which I don't know why we replaced it at that point, because it would have held forever. But you start to see these trends. So we do add these trends. Does it move it up? Yes and no. A lot of these larger segment jobs will be segmented. So this may be chased to 1600, and then we go 1600 to the next half mile, just due to the fact that a job could come in at, just ballpark, you say it's a $2 million job. They aren't really quite equipped yet to drop $2 million, unfortunately. So we do segment them. We do prioritize. Some of those priorities do change sometimes and bump things up. Just depends.
and I think what Shaylin is getting at, and maybe, I think I feel the same way, and I'm sure Robin and, well, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think it's like, help us understand how this changes your perspective on anything, and if we do need to be planning, something that way for the future.
Thanks, Dave, appreciate it. So in finishing up my report, I wanted to have Dave and Mike have a chance to talk about that. Let me put it this way. This started happening about 4 o'clock yesterday, and Brent was trying to get a hold of me, and I was out on a lake and didn't get back to him until about 8 or 9. But I got home that night and got there at about 11 o'clock, and stayed till about 3:30. Dave had taken off to start turning back on all the valves. I was with the rest of the crew there, and what Dave mentioned about this crew was quite incredible. I mean, I don't think they were on their best behavior just because the mayor was there, because I don't think they would have given a dang in that situation. When you're down in the bottom of a 6-foot hole and you got water pouring out on you, and I mean, I know I would have got pretty heated. I played basketball and got heated for less serious conditions than that at teammates. So, but it was quite incredible. I mean, gonna get emotional about it. I mean, just watching them, and I thought, I can't leave until this is done, because look at these, public works crew members. I mean, I saw them down there. It was tough to get that leak stopped, and get all the water off. And I saw a couple of them working on one side of that connection with head down, so he could see, but the water's still spraying, hitting his forehead and his hair, and flying over the top, and it was powerful. And I'm going, this is amazing. I called Mike to say, I said, your boys, men, were superstars last night. I mean, and talk about the work ethic. I mean, it does my heart dang good to see that type of work ethic growing up with the dad that I had and the work ethic I was taught. I mean, just every one of them contributed in whatever way possible. And I thought, if they can make it, and they've had a longer day than I have. I was up kayaking on the lake for part of my day. You know, I can make this, you know. And then they were probably all out of bed before I was as well, too. You know, but it was incredible. That work ethic just impressed me. And I'm sitting there looking at a nice new home that's built there, and thinking the people throughout the city are sleeping. They're just going about their duties, nobody ever even knowing what they did that night, you know, until 3:34 in the morning, and getting that water back on. I mean, it was incredible. I don't know how I could express it. Hopefully you get the feel, but thank you. And it was, in my time as mayor, I've gone out on quite a few of them. It was probably the second biggest. Dave and I talked about that. And Mike and I did today next to that, the Chase Lane one that was in January, up near the top 3 or 4 years ago. So thank you. That's my report. Brent.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I want to build on that just a little bit and throw out some names. Just what I witnessed, because I was there right before you got there, and I was there for the first, 3 or 4 hours with the crew. And it was fascinating to watch as Jace Witherby actually went around to 10 to 15 valves and then he had to go back, and then Drew ended up helping him out. But Jace was just struggling, and you've got to turn this key, and it's tight, right? So you're watching him turn this key, and he's got to go find them all to make sure he shuts off. So Jace did great. Austin was really fun to watch in the excavator. That guy can really navigate the excavator and pick up the asphalt, and that was really, really great to see. And Daniel, I haven't had a chance to chat with Daniel. He's one of our newer ones, but he was super. They're all eager, ready to go. The problem is at this time, as you're trying to wait for the water to shut off, it's pouring, so there's not a lot of work to do yet, but they're anxious. They're like, come on, we want to get going. But Daniel was our designated Spanish speakers for Telemundo, and they showed up, so he was ready to go practicing. He totally kidding around, but he was ready to go to give his spill. And Derek just was like, where do you need me? What do you need? What equipment? He kept going back and forth to get the right equipment for what they needed, and I appreciated Derek doing that. Ed was just helping out, shoveling as much rock out of the way. When Mark showed up, he just got into the backhoe and just started moving dirt. And all the guys grabbed a shovel and says, all right, let's go help Mark. Mark didn't say, come help me. They just saw that Mark was moving dirt, and they followed Mark and started just moving dirt out of the road. And I just get that leadership of just, my grandpa always taught me, if you see something that needs to be done, do it. Don't wait around. Don't wait for me to tell you. And so there was that moment where you started seeing that happening, where they were trying to pick things up. And Daniel's right, Drew, Derek, and then Lauren was available at any time to do messaging from home. I think that's one thing. We're going to have a conversation Thursday, and I've already told them, we've got to figure out this communication thing. Because we had Lauren ready to go. I do want to throw out, Louisa showed up as our emergency manager, and that's where I'm like, well, we need to figure out where does emergency management kick in. But Louisa was ready to help with that drafting. And then Chief sends that message out saying Bryce is putting stuff together. He's out of town. So I'm calling, Bryce, don't do anything. We already have Louisa and Lauren on this, or at least, but then Bryce got the three of them together to say, okay, what are we doing and how are we going to coordinate this? So we got to figure out this communication piece. So we're going to start really figuring out if it's the website. Again, when our website changes over, it's going to be much better. But the social media, not everybody does social media. I don't do social media. But we got to figure that piece out. Dave was awesome. I think he did great. And Mike, I applaud you for the restraint, to be honest with you. I know you wanted to be out there, but at the same time, Dave had it under control along with Mark, and they did a great job. I appreciate Officer Sear and Officer Brown being out there first part with traffic control. That was really great as well. And I think I just got everybody. Did I miss anybody? Dave? Austin, Dave, Jace. Again, Steve Hunt was out, who's our water supervisor, and so just again, the water guys just kind of knew, even without a few of our supervisors, they did a really good job. So anyway, just want to throw out the names. Couple other things. You'll see there was no wrap tax resolution on the agenda for tonight. We discovered that the county has to approve a resolution saying we're not going to pass one before we can pass one saying we want to pass one. Okay. So, county passed theirs last week.
No,
Oh.
next week.
Next week.
We have to wait for the county.
So,
Oh, okay.
good thing we started a little early.
There's like, we're subordinate to the county, essentially.
So if the county passed one, we can't pass one. Fair.
So they are saying they don't, so
So,
that means that
they're
for
not
all
in
the cities.
pass, they've got to tell us they're not passing one so we can pass ours.
So dumb.
So, and then,
All the sense in the world.
And I said I would help on that. Are you gonna give us, do I need to follow up with you? You're gonna let me know
we'll-
when you're ready?
ultimately, we're probably just gonna do similar language and send it to the two of you. And
Okay.
And honestly, it's probably gonna be the same language. I don't wanna mess with it. Unless you, I'll share this. If you, we'll send out the ballot, what we passed before. If you wanna make changes, just send it back. But ultimately, that's our recommendation.
Okay.
It was attached on our last. when we
I was gonna have them go
had
back, but I thought
session,
maybe we
so
should send it to them.
I can send it out again.
Yeah, I
but-
think you just have a separate one.
Maybe just, yeah.
How much did it pass by last time?
I don't know.
A lot of years
That
ago,
was before my
did
time.
some research.
I think 10 years ago, they didn't have electronic data. It's so long ago. Chad, I'm just kidding. We might be able to look it up. I think we can look it up.
You could find it at the county, I'm sure,
Sure.
as well too.
Our AC. Or, no, it's a speaker.
It's Brett, wait. What is that?
Gerbil in the-
It's just a
Okay. And the last thing, just to give you a heads up, Michael Romero mentioned about offers. We have all those properties. None of those have been brought before you yet. I've received one offer. I'm not going to go into details, obviously, we're not in a closed session. But I've just stated that we've got 10 or 12 more coming, and I didn't necessarily want to approve one at a time. And especially with potentially differing proposals and differing amounts, I wanted to address them all at the same time. So I've pushed back a little bit, saying I want to wait for the rest to come, and I've already pushed back a little bit, and they've changed the amount. Anyway, so there'll be 10 or 12 more coming, so I just wanted to hold off until we have them all for you to make that decision of what to accept. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, unless there's anything for me.
Thank you, Brant. Any questions for Brant? Okay, I believe there is, reason to go to closed session, so, I would look for a motion, to go to closed session, not to return.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss attorney-client matters that are privileged pursuant to Utah Code 78B-1-137 with no intent to return to the public meeting.
As well as for pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
Okay, as well as for pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
Second.
A motion is second, we gotta do a roll call vote. Councilmember Meekum?
Aye.
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 So that gets a 2/3. So council is closed.